Well, everybody, I can't believe that it's only been roughly 6 months-ish since last year's Giro d'Italia. So what we're going to do is do basically a Giro race rewind and speak to Geoghegan, Hart, obviously champion of the Giro, and also Rohan Dennis, who basically almost single-handedly turned the race on its head on the Stelvio. And that's basically what we're going to talk about the last couple of days of the Giro d'Italia. So I've got Teo here and Rohan Dennis as well. Now, first up, lads, hello, good to see you. But Dave Brailsford pointed to the Giro after it had finished and basically said it was a landmark in terms of the way that the Ineos Grenadiers were going to change their style of racing. So I'll put that to you first, Teo. What do you kind of think? Do you think it really was a sea change? Because you obviously went into the race with one mindset and exited it with another mindset. So what do you think of that, Teo?
You know, the barbers are open now.
Yeah, I do. I'm just going with it. I'm just going with the Musketeers. Look, I've been so busy commentating on bike racing, I haven't had a chance to go. So, you know, just cut me some slack.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny hearing you, say 6 months feels like, in a lot of ways, a lot longer. I guess I think that's, you know, how it is, Matt, with cycling. The moment you race again, you don't have that same feeling, and you're only as good as your last race, and you suffer just as much and have, you know, issues along the way, and I guess makes you look back and realise how much the stars aligned and certainly did for us in that 3 weeks, and into our new incarnation as a team and new sponsor, with Grenadier coming on board, and you know, new clothing and partnerships along with that. And I think looking back, it does feel like a long time ago now, even if it's only 6 months. I guess it's been such a, for use of a better word, unprecedented couple of years now, really, hasn't it? So great memories, and still something that definitely whenever any of the group that were there come together, there's always some memory that pops up from those 3 or so weeks that we enjoyed together on the road in Italy.
I mean, to just have a quick word with yourself, Rowan. I mean, in terms of, obviously it was brutally hard out there, but it did look like you're all having a lot of fun, because it's like a really open-minded approach to racing. It kind of reaped so many rewards, but it did look like you were having a really good time as well as getting stuck into the racing.
Yeah, it was obviously the group we had was quite a unique one as well. It wasn't that typical Ineos or old school Sky team where we had guys to just drum it out on the front all day for 3 weeks, and we just had to use our cards the way we actually, well, the cards we had, and we just had a lot of fun, and it just seemed to work.
I mean, talking of that, like, sense of fun, there's a really funny little video that was posted of you guys both warming up outside the team bus on the day before the Stelvio, that crucial day. And I think it was mentioned by Teo that you yourself, Rowan, had been basically up to that point just tapering. So using like 2 weeks of the Giro to get to a taper point before you hit the Stelvio, and you both looked really relaxed. And that was a brutally difficult day. But I mean, you clearly went into that stage, obviously with a plan, but you looked like you were ready to take it on.
Yeah, there was a bit of truth to that there was 2 weeks of training before. Had a good 2 weeks of training before that final week of racing, and obviously it was a bit of fun at the same time. I had been in good shape before I hit where did we start? It was down south, but I can't remember exactly where. But yeah, Teo made a bit of a joke that obviously I'd been tapering in the breakaway the day before when I absolutely blew. Yeah, I'm not going to use the term that I usually use, but I blew and completely came to almost a stop. And it was still a little bit nerve-wracking, but that's, like I said before, it was sort of a bit of a that mateship sort of thing where you had a joke to take away that nervousness of how serious that stage actually was. We had out the gates, I think it was an 8 or 10K climb straight away. So that no matter how good a form you're in, you're always a little bit nervous about that.
Yeah. I mean, the climb itself, I mean, you spent pretty much the entire climb on the front, as we all know. And there was a couple of times, Teo, I think it's fair, mate, to say that he was giving it a nudge, wasn't he? I mean, to coin an old phrase, just describe how hard it was to stay on his wheel.
I mean, most humans on this planet.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Just tell us the truth.
Well, most people I've met in little planet Earth, which maybe not many, but certainly quite a few bike riders, seem to go slower as they get to higher altitude. But there's a certain 2-time world champion who, actually, I was on the receiving end of it years ago in USA Pro Challenge when I was still under 23, and Rohan just wiped the floor with everyone, and we went even higher than on the Stelvio. I think we had a finish on this climb, Arapahoe Basin it's called, and it was like 3,200 meters or something at the top, and Rohan just rode away. And I remember thinking, I don't understand how he's doing this, because all these people had been doing their acclimatization for 2-3 weeks before, and Rohan had been at the Tour de France in, you know, diddly squat 10 meters above sea level in Paris. And yeah, same thing happened on Stelvio. He basically just went faster and faster whilst everyone else was dying more and more, essentially. And I remember for some of the time I was thinking, God, I really need Rohan in the valley after this. That's going to be actually the most important moment of the day, as opposed to the Stelvio itself, once it was kind of down to the three of us. And then it quickly became apparent that it was going to be more whether I could actually stay with Rohan until the valley itself. And he won the Chima Coffee by accident, first man in the history. He was a bit peeved that he had to go on the podium and collect it. He won best pleased at the finish. Of course, something had to annoy him, even if the day had gone great. But yeah, I think, like what you were just talking about, that day we were in Pinzolo. It was actually quite special for me, because it's the village of my auntie, and there was even a few people cheering with a banner at kilometre 0. And as Rohan said, we started up like 25-minute climb to Madonna de Campiglio, I think it's called, famous ski resort, and we went absolutely full gas, and there was only 20-25 guys left in the peloton at the top, and we had the whole team there. And I think we could have easily been on the bus that morning or on those turbo trainers when that video was filmed, like, quaking in our boots about what was to come that day, because it was brutally hard stage. And instead we just enjoyed it, and we had nothing to lose. And I think anyone in any walk of life knows that feeling when, you go into something and you just say, it will be what it will be, and we're going to have a great time. And yeah, definitely in a Grand Tour, that's so important, isn't it? It's basically a month with each other, almost 24/7. And I think your spirit matters so much when you're getting deep into those stage 18, stage 19. You've been on your bike more than, let's face it, anyone probably needs to be in a month. And yeah, we had a great time.
I need you to really answer my exact question as well. That was a lovely description, Teo. How much did you suffer on his wheel? That's how much I want to know. Because you're on the radio at one point. And did you actually ask him to slow down? I mean, we know that Rohan was absolutely flying. It was incredible. You decimated the field, and it was quite an incredible show. Without, we're having a bit of a laugh here, but it was a phenomenal performance. And he must have had you on the ropes at some. Did you actually ask him to slow down slightly? There's no shame in that. Did you have to do that?
I think I was really concerned about pacing it, because I know that when I've been in the unfortunate situation of sleeping on top of Stelvio for a week back in 2017 when I was first year professional, and raced at high altitude a lot of times, and I was just really, really scared about going even 5 seconds too fast in that last 2-3 kilometers. Yeah. Once we kind of could see and also hear from Passionate Tosso in the radio that we had a big gap, I was really afraid of us kind of overdoing it, and I think by default was kind of as eager as possible, really, to just consolidate what we had and then see what I think we never, envisaged that that stage was going to end up with as big a gaps as there were. Or certainly I didn't. I'm sure Rohan, throwing grenades left, right and centre had other ideas. But I think,
I was fully prepared to pull the pin at 6K to go.
I mean, Rohan, as we're talking about the Stelvio climb, and you're on the front, obviously Teo was suffering, but worried about a bit further down the road and not blowing up. I mean, we've seen you climb exceptionally well in the high mountains before. I mean, only the year before you were riding with Geoghegan, in the top second overall in the Tour of Switzerland. We know you can perform in the mountains, but this performance truly was something extraordinary, wasn't it? In the kind of, when you look back over your rides over the years, mate, it was pretty special. Did you surprise yourself with how well you were going? You obviously knew you were in good shape, but did you surprise yourself?
Yes and no. There was, like Teo said before, I never used to be that good at altitude, but since about 2015, it really seemed apparent that it didn't affect me too much. It does affect me, but I generally push a bigger gear, which I think helps at altitude with, I'm not going to go into the science of it all, but it just seems to keep me more in control of what's going on. And I don't seem to be as stressed as most other people, whereas at a lower altitude, a bigger gear isn't necessarily the best thing. So it was a surprise to a certain point, but not fully. I was surprised I made it to the top, and there was only 3 of us. But knowing how I was feeling up the first climb of the day, I knew that things were gonna be good for us. Just didn't expect it to be that good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it was phenomenal. It will live long in the memory for many, many reasons, as we know. But back to the rest of the team. There's just 2 of you sat here on this Zoom chat, but clearly, I mean, you went away from the race with 7 stage wins, and you were clearly having a lot of fun. As you said, there's a great bond within the team, but it really was a big team effort. Although there's only you 2 at the top of the Stelvio, for you to be in that kind of physiological shape with a great team around you against all odds as well, losing Geraint. It was a collective effort massively, wasn't it, Teo?
Yeah, and even that day we had Swifty and Pipo in the break. Could have been that the break took the Stelvio easily with 2 minutes more, and perhaps we would have even come to them in the valley. There was none of the other GC teams with representation in that break, and we had 2 guys. I think that goes to show how we approached the whole race, and we were on our toes, and then it was only really stage 20 to Sestriere where we kind of sat back and took the race on in a very different manner to the 3 weeks prior, really. So yeah, I think like Rohan said, there's great characters in that team, and it's a collection of amazing individuals that then makes up an incredible team. And I think it'd be easy to try and replicate that for many years to come, but actually you just have to accept that that was a 3 weeks that, like I said earlier, the stars really aligned, and I think that's what you have to try and replicate is that first and foremost being in the best shape of your life, and then everything going to plan, and having a great time to boot is a whole nother level of satisfaction for what is 3 weeks on the road all together, jollying round. I think we changed the hotel almost every night. It's bonkers when you think how much you're traveling, and when you look back on it, we were just privileged and lucky and grateful that the race even happened. And there was many times during the race that we thought and discussed and acknowledged that the race might even not make it to the finish. I think that was a real possibility at multiple times through the 3 weeks. So yeah, I guess it's a unique situation, isn't it? And I hope and I don't think we'll ever come across that scenario in Grand Tour racing again. The kind of unpredictability and is it going to end tomorrow feeling, but yeah, we made the most of that, and it was great.
I mean, just a quick question about obviously the chap that was second, Jai Hindley. It's pretty emotional finish in the end, but did it make it harder, Tao, or easier for you because you two were mates to go head to head? What was it like? I mean, somebody that you're really kind of fond of, taking chunks out of each other. Was it harder or easier?
No, I don't think it changed anything, to be honest. I think when you're racing, you forget about stuff like that. You know, the best thing about cycling is that there's a lot of cross-pollination between teams, and you know, you train with guys that you then race against. You might train with someone on a Tuesday and be racing flat out against them on the weekend. So I think first and foremost, we're all used to that. And secondly, I guess, yeah, the way that it ended, it didn't even really feel like a head-to-head for me. It was more just like do the best performance that you could on that given Sunday and hope that, you know, nothing went wrong, control what there was to control, and then it was going to turn out how it was going to turn out in the most boring of ways to say it, really. But yeah, I think, you know, it's nice when someone's like similar age and generation, you know that you're going to race a lot against them in the future and have already raced a lot in the past. And I think we both have spoken about the race since and had a great 3 weeks. And there's definitely no like hard feelings or anything from what happened.
Have both of you, have you seen Terminator 2, Tao?
Don't you dare say no. Don't you dare say no.
Have you not?
We always have a conversation. I haven't seen any of the films that you love. Like Rohan got some car that's in some film. I ain't seen that.
Oh my God. Anyway, I'm going to still do it. I'm going to ask. I mean, obviously Rohan has seen Terminator 2 because you on stage 20 when you were on the front to Sestria, because it was laps, wasn't it? Was it 2 or 3 times up the climb to the finish, wasn't it? And you basically, Jai kept attacking. And you'd bring him back. Obviously, Rohan got distance, but he just kept coming back, and it was a bit like Terminator 2, like they're just blowing holes out of him, and then he just kept reforming and coming back. Did you feel like a Terminator?
Do you mean like the knight in Monty Python when he has his leg cut off?
Well, that's probably a more culturally obtuse reference. But yeah, did you feel like the knight being with all his limbs severed, but somehow you managed to keep powering back, Rohan?
Well, Tao at the bottom of the climb just said, look, ride a bit easier up this climb this time around. There's no point going stupid because we've already got the gap of about a minute on anybody else. Let's keep it controlled, get you as far as possible up the climb. And then I was like, well, if he attacks, at least I'll be able to come back. So the first time it was his attack was more of a test, I think. So it wasn't actually that hard to follow. The second one, when he went, that was more of me wanting to stick it to him. And just to sort of get back there and Tao was on the wheel, and I thought if I can get back and just look at him, obviously he knows it's going to hurt, but the fact that he's gone all in and I've been riding this whole time and I come back, it's going to play mind games with him. So if I can just get back, get in front and look and just let him know I'm back, it's going to end him. So that was more what was going through my head, is play that mind game to obviously help Tao. And maybe that would have got me to the finish, and then we could play 2 cards. But he decided that he'd have one last crack, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just ride to the finish and let these guys play it out themselves, and it ended up being perfect. Tao obviously just got to sit on and then just pumped him in the sprint. So that was more what was going through my head is I felt good. Why not try play some head games as well?
I mean, it was spectacular to watch. I mean, it was wonderful to see unfold. But I mean, just one more question before we wrap things up, Rowan, to you. I mean, obviously, we know about your TT prowess, but when you look back on the Giro and your performance in the mountains, although it is set in with context with previous good performances in the mountains, did you actually feel like that you discovered another layer to your own kind of abilities because of how deep you kind of went?
Oh, initially, I really wanted to win. Well, I still did want to win a stage going into the Sunday's TT. But what I've noticed in the past is I actually quite enjoy seeing other guys win if I've played a part in it as well. Yeah. If I've just been in the peloton and my teammate's been up the road and he goes solo and I don't do anything and he wins the stage, look, I'm happy for him, but it's not, it doesn't really, I don't feel a connection to it. So being a big part of Teo's, well, overall win and the Sestriere win and obviously the Stelvio stage, I did get quite a lot out of that, and it was more than what I normally would have as well. So yeah. I've never played that big a part necessarily, well, definitely not that big a part in someone's win, and I've played a big part, nowhere near that.
When I won the first stage, you shouted at me when I went past you as well. So that must have been really important. When you were in your solo break and we went past on Piancavallo and you shouted at me. So that was more important, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that, actually. So, yeah. I forgot about that one. I was in the break that day and Teo's caught me with the Sunweb guys on the front, now DSM, and I looked back and obviously he was about, I think, 5th or 6th wheel from memory, but everyone was absolutely on the ropes. So I just yelled, look, everyone's on the limit or something along the lines. And a
few more F-bombs probably.
Yeah, everyone's a bit, yep. Obviously that may have helped, may or may not have helped Teo, but so he didn't have to look back and he knew that if he was hurting, then everyone else was absolutely on the limit as well. So yeah, just little, I get a bit of, or a bit more than a bit of, but a lot of enjoyment out of playing a big role in other people winning. And the Giro was, yeah, it didn't disappoint on that front for me.
Great stuff. Well, finally from yourself, Teo, obviously you went into Milan, you took the pink jersey, the final pink jersey, and the rest is kind of history. But what were the celebrations like? Obviously, I managed to catch up with you briefly behind the podium before you all went off, but was it a memorable night? Was it proper knees up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was curfew in Italy at the time, and yeah, nothing crazy. But it was a memorable night. I think, a lot of the staff and all the riders were there, apart from Paul Castro, who was off on holidays at about 5 a.m. the next morning. We'd been lucky enough to have him for them 3 weeks as it was. So we sent him off home to get back to his family that hadn't really seen him for 2 months because he'd been at the tour basically up until the start of the Giro as well. And yeah, we had a great time. We had a lovely quiet meal in the hotel, some very memorable speeches, some good bottles of wine, and yeah, we just, we carried on what we'd done for 3 weeks, having nice conversation and enjoying each other's company, just with tipple more alcohol and some slightly different, bit more greasy food basically. But it was lovely, and I was shattered, to be honest. I think it'd been a long day, like all TT days are, and I guess also a long season, even though we hadn't raced for half of it. So it was very memorable, and I wouldn't have changed it at all, to be honest. It was perfect.
Brilliant stuff. Well, it's been wonderful to talk to you both. Thanks for giving up the time ahead of your various commitments. Actually, one more question I'd like to know. Where's your pink jersey hanging up, Teo?
Nowhere, mate.
Oh, come on. So, you're not hung it up.
No, I respect that.
Plenty years after my career to be nostalgic. I think that's water under the bridge now. It's thinking this game, Rohan will tell you, and I'm sure most pros will, that once it's done, really, and we're on to the next thing. So yeah, maybe one day it will make it somewhere, but for now, I think it's in a drawer somewhere. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Fair enough. Well, I did the same with my Merseyside Divisional Champions jerseys. I've not put those up. So fair play, mate. Anyway, really good to speak to you, Rohan. Really great to chat to you, Theo. Take care, lads. And I'll catch up with you very, very soon.
Cheers,
Thanks, mate.